This segment of the news is brought to you by Sun Oil Limited.
Welcome back. Details of that contaminated fuel supply at Bahamas Power and Light are still being investigated. The power company, in a statement, confirming that major remediation efforts have been undertaken following an incident which resulted in contamination of more than 3.5 million gallons or 87,000 barrels of fuel. The distributor, Sun Oil Limited, is working with BPL to remedy the situation, which affected both BPL-owned and rental units at both the Blue Hills Power Station and Clifton Pier Power Station. BPL says, in fact, immediately as they were informed of the breach, Sun Oil mobilized an action plan and has already restored clean fuel to rental units at Blue Hills Power Station. That remediation plan went into place on Monday, May 3rd. CEO of BPL, Whitney Hasty, says it is important to note that while it will take some time, potentially 2 months or so, to clean all of BPL's assets affected by the contamination, restoration of fuel supply for generation has already occurred. The remediation efforts underway resulted in a reliable supply of fuel to BPL's engines and rentals, meaning that barring a catastrophe of some sort, energy supply is expected to remain at N1 or N2 levels of redundancy. The power giant says it will continue to monitor the situation and provide an update to customers as necessary. In crime news, police have arrested a male and female suspect for possession of unlicensed firearms. In the first incident, preliminary reports are that shortly before 11 p.m. on Saturday, May 8th, officers from the operations unit were on routine patrols on St. Charles Vincent Street when they observed the occupants of a gray Nissan Note who aroused their suspicion. The vehicle was stopped and a field search was conducted. During the search, the officers discovered a black revolver. As a result, a male and female were arrested and taken into custody. In the second incident, preliminary reports indicate that shortly before 1 p.m. on Sunday, while acting on information, officers from the Southern Division proceeded to an abandoned building located on Plantal Street. While there, the officers conducted a search of the building and discovered a pistol containing 2 unfired rounds of ammunition. No arrest was made during this incident. Investigations into both of these matters continue. The Royal Bahamas Defense Force Commodore Dr. Raymond King says COVID-19 cases are at a manageable number within the agency. He shares this much with reporters during a sideline interview this morning, while also giving an update on the vaccination process. Here's Laurencia Smith with that report.
As the country continued to battle its way through the third wave of the global pandemic COVID-19, the country's military armed forces also fighting off cases. Royal Bahamas Defense Force Commodore Dr. Raymond King gave the media an update on what's happening at HMBS Coral Harbor with COVID-19. Commodore King revealed that there are currently about 8 active cases with roughly 31 persons in quarantine. When asked what the force is doing to prevent a mass breakout within the organization, he says that the RBDF is following the Ministry of Health COVID-19 guidelines, while adding this.
And our benefit is that before any deployment, before any vessel proceed at sea, persons will be tested prior to, about out to 5 days prior to, and once they're cleared, then our ships will proceed, persons will go on deployments, because for us, our largest ship carries a crew of some 60 persons. And it takes just 1 case on board, and now you have 59 persons who must be quarantined. And so it impacts us even greatly. And that is why we have taken those proactive steps.
When asked how the vaccination process is going for officers, Dr. King says that there are some level of hesitancy within the agency as it relates to Marines getting vaccinated.
Slowly persons are going to be vaccinated. They have, but there was a high level of hesitancy early on, but it has somewhat eased, and persons are now going to be vaccinated. I've spoken with the medical team, and they said they are unable at this time to really say how many members from the Royal Bahamas Defense Force, because the information isn't being classified or captured as per entity.
Last year, a new entry of young Marines were infected with COVID-19 while in training. The Commodore says that the force has a plan in place for any new entries.
We're satisfied that if we were to test those persons before they actually enter training, they're tested, they're kept in a bubble, and we keep the entire training staff. And once we adhere to the medical protocols of wearing masks, social distancing, we should be fine.
Commodore Raymond King says he's confident in the robust plan in which the organization has to combat COVID-19 on the force. I'm Laurentia Smith for Jcn News.
Stay with us. Our final story is up next.
This segment of the news has been brought to you by Sun Oil Limited.